200 miles per hour. That is how fast Christopher Bell was going when everything changed. No warning. No time to react. One moment he was racing for position at the front of the field, and the next, his car was a fireball slamming into the wall. The impact was so violent, so absolutely savage, that it physically broke the safer barrier. The wall that is specifically designed to absorb the worst crashes in the sport shattered. Track crews had to bring out welding equipment to fix it before racing could even resume. And when NASCAR officials downloaded the data from that crash, they went silent. Because what they found was something they had never seen before. Not in this generation of racing. Not in over a decade of crash investigations. Not once. The numbers on that screen were the largest ever recorded. And here is the part that will stay with you long after this video ends. 5 days later, with a fractured wrist, Christopher Bell strapped back into a race car. Stay with me. Because this story is about more than a crash. It is about what this sport truly demands, what it costs, and the kind of men it takes to compete at its highest level. By the time we are done, I promise you, you will see NASCAR differently. Before we go any further, I want to take just a moment. If you are new here, welcome. At NASCAR Report today, we do not just cover the results. We cover the stories behind the results. The ones that make you feel something. The ones that remind you why this sport matters. If that is what you are looking for, hit that subscribe button right now. Every single week, we bring you the stories the highlights reels miss. You do not want to miss what is coming. Hit subscribe. It is free. It takes 2 seconds. And it means everything to this channel. Now, let's go back to Michigan. The race was the Firekeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway. A 2-mile oval where cars run side by side at speeds most people will never experience in their lifetime. Every inch of racetrack matters. Every decision happens in a fraction of a second. Christopher Bell was having a strong run. He came into Michigan with serious momentum, back-to-back runner-up finishes at Charlotte Motor Speedway and Nashville Superspeedway. He was locked in. He was hungry. He was pushing for more. Then came lap 148. A restart had just gone green. The field was bunched up, speeds building fast, and Bell was running side by side with Chase Elliott, the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, right there next to him. Elliott's car hit a bump. The rear end stepped out. And before either driver could process what was happening, Elliott's car hooked back up and shot hard directly into the left side door of Bell's number 20 Toyota. Bell's car launched toward the outside wall. Both cars hit the safer barrier in turn 4 at nearly 200 miles per hour. The back end of Bell's Toyota erupted in flames on impact. Elliott's car slid back down the track and struck the inside tire barrier. For a few seconds on the broadcast, everyone watching, in the stands, in the booths, at home, held their breath. Then both drivers climbed out. Chase Elliott walked directly across the racetrack to Christopher Bell. And the two of them embraced. Right there. In the middle of one of the most violent crashes Michigan International Speedway had ever seen. That image said more than any words could. But Elliott had words anyway. And he did not dodge responsibility for a single second. It was totally my fault, Elliott said after being evaluated and released from the infield care center. I feel really bad for Bell, just taking him out. I was trying to run the bottom, make use of our fresh tires and at least get to second. I was hoping to stay side by side with him. I just got in there and got free. I thought I was going to spin and was kind of committing to spinning out. As soon as I was committed to spinning, it just hooked up and unfortunately sent Christopher into the wall really hard, and me shortly thereafter. Was a huge hit. Huge hit for him, pretty big hit for me, too. That is a man owning a mistake. Fully. Immediately. No excuses. Bell was transported to the infield care center. He spent nearly an hour being evaluated before being released. He declined all interview requests. And when you understand what his body had just been through, that silence makes complete sense. Joe Gibbs, the legendary team owner, the man who built one of the most dominant organizations in NASCAR history, addressed reporters after the race. He acknowledged that Bell had likely suffered wrist and ankle injuries and that the team would have to evaluate him over the coming days. The car was destroyed. The wall was broken. The red flag lasted 20 minutes and 31 seconds, and two of the people closest to the crash, who had front row seats to what happened, could not shake what they had just seen. Bubba Wallace was running directly behind Bell when the crash happened. He had a clear, unobstructed view of the entire sequence. His voice over teen radio said everything. Please tell me that guy is alright. Then silence. Then, that was the scariest hit I've ever seen. And from the broadcast booth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., a man who has seen, and survived, more than most, spoke about something that does not get talked about enough in this sport. They know, all of these drivers, particularly those ones that were up front, that were right there around this accident, have to compartmentalize that fear or that knowledge, Earnhardt said. That's up front in their face. And now I've got to go out here and continue to put myself in that situation and at that risk. It's incredible. I think we kind of forget about that sometimes because we humanize them. But they have to ignore a lot of trauma and a lot of dangers and fears to go out there and risk their lives and take chances that a lot of us aren't willing to take. Read that again. Let it sit. These are not robots behind the wheel. They are human beings, with families, with fears, with everything to lose, who choose, every single weekend, to get back in that car. And what NASCAR confirmed in the days that followed proved exactly how extreme that choice truly is. In the days after the Michigan crash, NASCAR launched a full and immediate investigation. Officials began at the track itself visual inspections of the number 20 Toyota, photographs from multiple angles, and a complete download of all data from the car's incident data recorder. The car was then transported to Joe Gibbs Racing's facility in Huntersville, North Carolina, where NASCAR continued its evaluation on Monday morning. The man leading that investigation was Matt Harper, the managing director of safety systems at the NASCAR Research and Development Center. Harper has been in that role since 2015. He has seen crashes most of us will only ever see on a screen. He has reviewed data from some of the biggest impacts in modern NASCAR history. And according to reporting, within 5 minutes of the photos and crash data being uploaded to the server from Michigan, Harper was already reviewing them from home in North Carolina. 5 minutes. That response time alone tells you how seriously NASCAR treated this crash from the very first moment. The findings were released publicly through NASCAR's official Hauler Talk podcast. Mike Forde, NASCAR's vice president of racing communications, confirmed what the data showed. Christopher Bell's crash at Michigan International Speedway produced the largest delta V measurement ever recorded during the next-gen era. Let that land. The next-gen car, the current generation of Cup Series race car, was introduced in 2022. In every race, at every track, across every type of speedway since that debut, no impact had ever produced a number like this one. Forde explained what delta V actually measures, because it is an important and specific distinction. Delta V is the measure of speed lost in an incident, Forde said. So, if you're going 200 miles per hour and then all of a sudden you come to a stop because you hit a wall and scrub off X amount of speed, that difference is what the delta V is. It is not just the peak force of the moment of impact. It is the total change in velocity across the entire duration of the crash. And that distinction matters enormously because injury risk in a racing crash is not determined by a single dramatic number. It is determined by how abruptly and completely a driver's speed is reduced. It is the full picture. And Bell's full picture was the worst NASCAR had ever recorded in this generation of racing. Forde went further. He passed along what Harper told him directly after completing the investigation. Harper also said it was the hardest hit that he's seen and has looked at from a data perspective since he's been here, and he's been here since 2015, Forde said. So, more than a decade of data and experience out of Matt, and it was the hardest that he's seen. Think about what that means. Since 2015, Matt Harper has reviewed data from crashes at Daytona, at Talladega, at the high banks of Bristol, at the concrete walls of Martinsville, at superspeedways and short tracks and everything in between. He has seen it all. He had never seen numbers like this. The actual delta V figure from Bell's crash is not being released to the public. Forde described it as proprietary data information that belongs to Bell and to Joe Gibbs Racing. They could release it if they chose to. As of now, they have not. And honestly, you do not need the number. The context around it says everything. The biggest hit in over a decade of data. The biggest hit in the entire next-gen era. The wall broken. The red flag lasting more than 20 minutes. That is the crash Christopher Bell walked away from. One of the most important things that came out of NASCAR's post-crash investigation was what officials found when they examined the head surround foam inside Bell's cockpit. This is the foam that surrounds a driver's helmet inside the car. It plays a critical role in managing head movement and absorbing energy during violent impacts. And what NASCAR found when they studied Bell's specific setup is now being looked at as a potential new standard for every driver in the field. Forde described it this way. A big priority is being put around the head surround foam. We keep updating this part of the rulebook as we learn more and more. The thickness of the head surround is so important, and because we were pleased with how the head surround supported Christopher in this incident, we did a lot of measurements of the type of foam he used, the softness, and the thickness. We want to see, hey, is this sort of the magic number? Is this something that other drivers may want to look at? Because this was the biggest hit we've ever seen in the next-gen era, and by and large, Christopher came out of it pretty well. By and large, he came out of it pretty well. After the biggest recorded crash in next-gen history. That is not luck. That is the result of decades of painful, hard-won safety progress. The HANS device, which protects a driver's head and neck from the violent snapping motion that has killed drivers in the past. The safer barrier system, the steel and foam energy reduction barriers that absorb crash energy before it transfers fully into a driver's body. The chassis design of the next-gen car itself. The restraint systems. And now, the head surround foam that NASCAR is actively studying to see if it should become the new baseline for every driver going forward. Josh Berry, another driver who witnessed the Michigan crash from close range, put it in words that are hard to argue with. "It broke the wall," Berry said. "Was a huge hit, but in the end, it does say a lot about the safety advances that NASCAR has made. Not only throughout the process of the next-gen car, but also just over the last couple decades. You look at safer barriers and HANS devices and things that have come along, man, it's just amazing the progress that's been made. This is the part of NASCAR that does not always get the attention it deserves. The racing is thrilling. The competition is elite. But underneath all of it is an organization that has spent years learning from tragedy, from close calls, from data, and from drivers, building a sport that is safer today than it has ever been. And moments like what happened at Michigan test that progress in a way that no simulation ever can. And the system held. Here is where the story turns. After Bell returned home to North Carolina, X-rays confirmed what his body had already been telling him. He had suffered a fractured left wrist in the crash. For a brief period, the question hanging over Joe Gibbs Racing and over the NASCAR garage was whether they would need to put a substitute driver in the number 20 car for the following weekend's race at Pocono Raceway. The answer came on Tuesday evening. JGR released an official statement. Christopher Bell had been medically cleared to compete. He would drive the number 20 Toyota Camry XSE at Pocono on Sunday. Bell posted his own message on X, addressing everyone who had reached out after the Michigan crash. "Thank you to each and everyone who reached out to check on me. I truly feel the love. I'm grateful for my team of doctors, JGR, NASCAR, and all of the previous drivers who have helped pave the way for the safety standards in our sport. See you in Pocono. See you in Pocono." 4 words. Understated. No drama. No performance. Just a driver telling the world where he would be on Sunday. Now consider the full weight of that decision. Bell had just walked away from the largest crash ever recorded in the next-gen era. He had a fractured wrist. And he was choosing to strap into a race car 1 week later. Not just any race car. Not on an easy track. Pocono Raceway. Pocono is one of the most physically demanding circuits on the entire Cup Series schedule. Its unique triangular layout, 3 very different corners connected by long straightaways, means that drivers are constantly working the steering wheel from start to finish. There is no coasting. There is no coasting. The steering load at Pocono puts continuous stress on a driver's arms and hands. Even fully healthy, elite-level athletes have described it as one of the most taxing races of the year on the body. Bell would be doing it with a fractured left wrist. Let that image form in your mind. Every turn, every lap, every mile. With broken bones. The championship context makes this decision even heavier. Coming into Michigan, Bell was 7th in the Cup Series standings. The DNF from the crash dropped him to 10th. In a season where playoff positioning is built race by race and point by point, that slide hurt. Every race from here forward carries real consequence for where he finishes in the standings and whether he is in position to compete for a championship when the playoffs arrive. Bell understood all of that. He weighed the risk, the physical risk, the setback risk, and he decided. He was going to Pocono. His record there gives him reason for confidence. In 8 career Cup Series starts at Pocono Raceway, Bell has posted 2 top 5 finishes and 3 top 10s, with a best result of 4th place achieved twice, in 2021 and again in 2022. He knows that track. He has competed well there. But this weekend will be different from every one of those previous visits in a way that no previous Pocono race has been. To fully appreciate what Christopher Bell walked away from and walked back into, it helps to understand how far NASCAR safety has come, and how hard that road was. This sport was not always safe. For a long time, it was not even close to safe. The 1990s and early 2000s saw a series of crashes that shook the sport to its foundation. Adam Petty, son of Kyle Petty and grandson of Richard Petty, died in a crash at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in May 2000 at just 19 years old. Kenny Irwin Jr. died in a crash at the same track just 2 months later. Tony Roper was killed at Texas Motor Speedway in October 2000. And then, on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500, the most watched race in American motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Sr. died from a basilar skull fracture after a crash in Turn 4. Earnhardt's death changed everything. NASCAR moved with urgency. The Hans device, the head and neck support system that had existed but was not mandated, became required equipment. Research into barrier systems accelerated. The safer barrier, developed at the University of Nebraska, was installed at tracks across the country. Cockpit design evolved. Data collection became more sophisticated. The entire culture around safety transformed. And it has not stopped evolving since. The next-gen car, introduced in 2022, incorporated lessons from every generation before it. Stronger chassis, better energy management, more sophisticated safety structures built into the car itself. The head surround foam that NASCAR is now studying because of what happened to Christopher Bell is the latest chapter in that ongoing story. Every advance in safety in this sport was purchased by tragedy somewhere in its past. The sport learned from it. It changed because of it. And today, a driver walks away from the most violent recorded crash in the modern era, with a fractured wrist and a return date 1 week later. That is what decades of safety progress looks like. It does not look like a press release. It looks like Christopher Bell posting, "See you in Pocono." Here is what this entire story comes down to. NASCAR officials confirmed, through data, through investigation, through the words of the man who has reviewed crash records for over a decade, that what happened to Christopher Bell at Michigan International Speedway was the most violent recorded impact in the entire next-gen era. The largest delta V ever measured. The hardest hit Matt Harper has seen since he began his role in 2015. A crash so powerful that it physically destroyed the wall built to contain it. And 5 days later, Christopher Bell said, "See you in Pocono." That contrast between what the data says happened and what Bell chose to do next is one of the most striking things to come out of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season so far. It is a story about what this sport demands. It is a story about what its safety systems have made possible. It is a story about the competitors who choose, every single weekend, to accept those demands. It is the story of why NASCAR is not just a sport. It is something deeper than that. Something that asks more of its participants and its fans than most of us will ever fully understand. And Christopher Bell answered that ask the only way he knew how. See you in Pocono. That is going to do it for today's video here on NASCAR Report Today. If this story hit you the way it hit me, share it. Send it to someone who needs to understand what these drivers actually go through. Let people know what happened at Michigan and what came after it. And if you are not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now. We cover the stories that go deeper than the box scores and the lap times. We cover the moments that define this sport. Every single week. Drop a comment below, let me know what you think about Bell's decision to return to Pocono. Brave? Inspiring? Let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next one.